for review. We have a 1987 Mastertronic release. Not much more to say about it other than to just introduce it. It's called the Curse of Sherwood. Front cover on this one's kind of cool actually. Got a nice logo, sort of spooky Curse of Sherwood logo with a bat over it. And the artwork, which is done by this, I don't know who he is, the artist that worked on these, but obviously they've done a cartoon style artwork on a lot of these games, presumably all by the same person. And it's got a wizard, which I don't really remember from the Robin Hood mythology, fighting some skeletons, which I also don't remember from the Robin Hood mythology. But nonetheless, it's quite a nice front cover. And spine is just as you'd expect. And the back's got the introduction to the game. Sherwood Forest has been taken over by the evil and ruthless cult of Sagalia. Blah 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 blah. And you're playing Friar Tuck, who doesn't look a lot like the guy on the front cover, generally speaking. Solve the clues hidden in the rhyme and destroy the evil force. So inside we've got some screenshots which look decidedly monochromatic and Spectrum-like. Maybe they are the Spectrum screenshots. We'll soon find out. And we've also got the instructions, of course. Robin Hood and his many men have been confronted with their biggest challenge to date. Blah 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 blah. And on the body of something or other you notice a piece of bloodstained parchment bearing the following rhyme. Could this possibly be the answer? And there's this rhyme, which I won't read out in total, but I'll just read the first section. For fire protection you must amass werewolf fangs and a scrying glass. What the hell's that? Then travel through the misty wood to take them to the Witch of Good, etc, etc, etc. I assume these are the clues that to the game of how to complete the game. And then there's also some gameplay controls and the loading instructions, and that is it. So here's a title screen, pretty nondescript stuff. It just says Curse of Sherwood at the top, and you've got the choice of playing with joystick or keyboard and starting the game, and after a few seconds it goes into a sort of rolling slideshow almost of some of the screens from within the game. And as you can probably already tell, it's definitely a Spectrum conversion with the monochromatic sprites for the most part. So let's get the game started. Play with the joystick, of course. So you're playing Friar Tuck. This is him wandering around the screen, and as was very common on 8-bit computers generally, but especially on the Spectrum, it's a flick screen arcade adventure. So the idea of the game is to follow the rhyme that's in the inlay and try and rescue your fellow members of Robin Hood's merry men, I guess, by collecting various items and giving them to various people. So you can shoot. You're armed with a sword to start with, and there's some bats on the screen which I've just dispatched quickly with the sword. This guy throws stuff back at you which you need to avoid. Some kind of gnome or ogre or something, not quite sure. And we've got some baddies which fire arrows at you, and you can fire back at them, as you can see. There we go, got rid of him. And one of them has dropped an item which looks like a shield. Doesn't tell you what the item is when you pick it up, it just puts it into this status bar across the top there. You can carry 3 items at once. So moving on, and we've got what looks like a wizard who's killed me. Oh, this is not going very well, is it? Got him. And as you can see there, he's dropped an item which is actually a different weapon, which is a club. I'll pick that up. What I've found is that various weapons are better for dispatching certain types of enemy, and the club in particular is good for killing the skeletons, which coincidentally appear on the next screen, firing swords at you. keep adventuring along. More skeletons to dispatch there. As you can see, the club gets rid of them with one hit, whereas if you try and throw a sword at them, it takes ages. So there's a little house here, which I will go into. And there's a guy in here throwing stuff. Try and get him, there we go. And he's dropped something else, I'm not quite sure what that is, but I'll pick it up anyway. Looks like some kind of, like a crystal ball or something. So, graphics wise, obviously a straight clone from the Spectrum with monochromatic sprites, nicely animated, but rather bland looking nonetheless, and sound wise virtually non-existent. You've just got this pitter patter sound of his feet, which doesn't seem to be in time with the way he's walking anyway, and a few sort of crunching sounds when you shoot people. So I'll go down here. What have we got here? We've got bats. Get rid of those. You see the usual, like, typical explosion sound when the bats die. And here we've got a ring of mushrooms, which is quite strange, and that's actually some form of teleporter, which is teleporting me elsewhere in the map. Shoot that door down. More bats to dispatch. Get rid of these guys. Oh, the bats killed me. I almost had about 1,000 shots to try and get that bat. If you don't kill everything on the screen, then the whole batch of enemies does respawn, but if you wipe them all out, I will demonstrate that you actually, they don't come back. So at least that's not too bad, because that is one of my hates about these kind of games, is that all the enemies respawn every time you go back on a screen. So I like that part of the game at least. And I just picked up a cross. If I remember rightly, the cross is something you need to use. Let's just consult the rhyme a little bit here. And the cross says, a silver cross must be found before you feel safe and sound. On the pentagon it must be dropped and the portal of evil will be stopped. So that's something I need for later in the game. Also, the first part says, for fire protection you must amass werewolf's fangs and a scrying glass. Then travel through the misty wood, taking to the witch of good. I don't know if this thing's a scrying glass or not. There's another weapon to pick up here anyway, which is a silver dagger, which, as I've already played through the game several times, I know can be used to kill the werewolf, which then gives you the wolf's fang or whatever it was, wolf's claw, that you need to collect. So I'm going to head over in that direction. I have only got one life left, so the chances are I'm going to get wiped out. So on my way to the other side of the map, I have lost my last life and had to restart. So I've already gone and done all the stuff that I'd already recorded, and I'm back to my starting point. So I'll make my way across the left hand side of the map now, hopefully, and get rid of that guy. On this screen here we've got bees, which do fire back at you, but I managed to get them all before they did. They're quite tricky to get past at times. And on this level we've got skeletons again, which I'm trying to shoot with the silver dagger without much success. No, I'm getting nowhere there. So, knowing that the club does dispatch them pretty quickly, I'm going to go back and swap the silver dagger for the club. And this does show one of the annoying parts of the game. There is quite a lot of backtracking, because you can only wield one weapon at a time. If that weapon's no good for the particular characters you're trying to eliminate, then you have to go all the way back and swap it for one of the other weapons. So here's that club. So I'll go back to the skeletons. Okay, let's give another go at getting rid of those skeletons then. There we go, got rid of them nice and easily now. And this house here has got a witch in. I don't know if that's the good witch that I'm supposed to take the various items to or not. But she doesn't seem to be doing any harm at the moment, so I'll just leave her to it. and carry on with my adventure. And here's the wolf here. That's the werewolf. So having gone all the way back to get that club to kill the skeletons, I've now got to go all the way back again to get the silver dagger to kill the werewolf. Okay, so I've gone back and got the silver dagger. The one bonus point I will say for the game is that the character Friar Tuck does move really quickly, so you do get from screen to screen pretty quickly. If he just plodded along, then I'd have long since switched this off. So let's go and see if I can get rid of the werewolf. There we go, got him with one hit with the silver dagger, and as you can see he's left something behind, which is these claws or something. I can't remember what the booklet said now, but so I've collected that, and it's obviously because I've already got 3 items, it's dropped the first one I picked up, which was the shield. I guess I'll need that later for something. So carry on, go down here. I haven't been down here yet. Oh, I got killed by a bat. Quick mention for the death animation, by the way, which is quite cool. Quite like that, the way he collapses into a pile of bones. There's actually no reason for me to even tackle that level, so I'll move on and head to the upper area, which I haven't been to yet, up here. So I'm plodding along. I've picked up an ice wand by killing another wizard, which shoots little balls. So to talk about the game itself, it's obviously a pretty lazy Spectrum port, graphics wise, and there's been no attempts to make it more suitable to the Commodore 64. They could have put a nice bit of tune in the background, for example, but they haven't. But that said, it's not a bad game. It's quite nice to play. It's quite well polished. There's some real serious slowdown on these screens when there's 3 or 4 enemies and they're firing a load of missiles at you. It really does grind to a halt, which suggests not very good programming. And this guy's dropped a crossbow by the looks of it. Yeah, crossbow. And now I've reached the river. Which I can't get across. What is good about the game is that it's well polished. The gameplay is quite pleasant. You know, it's not too challenging at this point, and some things have been done quite nicely, like the fact that the character moves quite quickly and that the enemies don't respawn every time you go back on a level, which are 2 things that would really make the game horrible to play. So overall, it's not too bad gameplay wise. Oh, this guy looks like he could be challenging. Oh, there's a key, and I'm guessing that's going to get me through this door. So I've gone through the door and got rid of a few skeletons and things, and come to this section, which, as you can see by the sign there, there's a swamp. This is the swamp, and looks to me like fire there. So I'm going to try see if that ice wand that I picked up earlier might get rid of the fire. Seems a sensible sort of an option. Just shooting the fireball things didn't have any effect. So once again, a bit of backtracking to get the right weapon, which is probably the most annoying part of the game. It is obviously a classic 8-bit game, flick screen, very much associated with the Spectrum, the flick screen sort of action adventure, pick up items and use them somewhere else. You know, all the likes of Ultimate and Hewson did a lot of games like that. So let's see if this does me any good. Ooh, watch out for those flames. Well, the flames definitely kill me, that much is certain. And shooting them with the ice one doesn't seem to serve much purpose either. So somehow I've got to negotiate my way across this swamp. I've got no idea where I'm going. I'm actually just wondering whether I should see if that witch really is a good witch by taking these wolf things to her. So I'm just going to head off and try that. Okay, so here's that witch's house again. I've got what might be a spy glass or whatever the hell it was called. A sky glass, I think they called it actually. I don't know. Anyway, and a wolf bits. So will that do me any good with this witch? Oh yes, it has. The icons have just changed at the top there, and the 2 items that I did have now been swapped for well, it's a small canister with an F on, so let's assume that's a fire extinguisher, shall we? So that was quite cool. I'm actually making some progress. This does of course mean I've now got to backtrack all the way back to that swamp. So here I am back at the swamp. Let's see if having that, whatever it is, fire extinguisher does any good. I don't really know what to do. Shall I try shooting them? What's... Oh yeah. I can walk straight through them now. That's cool. Oh, but I seem to have sunk in the swamp. Doesn't seem entirely fair. I feel this is going to be the end of the game now. This is going to be one of those sections where you can only get through it based on playing through it several times, I suspect. Oh no, nearly off the screen, and that's game over. You have failed to complete your mission. Okay, so I'm not going to play through it again, but surprisingly, despite the lazy Spectrum port nature of it, it's actually quite an enjoyable game, and every go I've had of it I've got a little bit further. So for $1.99 that's pretty good stuff really, or it would have been. I'm not going to carry on playing it now, but I think it definitely would have been worth having back when I had more time to play these kind of games. So yeah, quite a pleasant surprise there. Not going to make it into my top 10 of course, but nonetheless a more worthy game than I thought it was going to be.
If you only knew the power of the dark side.
2, 1, 0.